Today is September the 15th, 2022, and my name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for the Veterans Memorial and Multicultural Histories Incorporated, and we are at Riviera Beach Preparatory Achievement Academy. I'm working with Mr. Larry Balfour, who is the history teacher in the class, and two of his students, Keegan and Calviana. Okay, Mr. Spellman, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Okay, what is your full name?
Kenneth K. Spellman.
Okay, Mr. Spellman, and where were you born?
Staten Island, New York.
Mm-hmm. What city do you live in now?
I live in Boynton Beach, Florida.
How long have you resided in Boynton Beach?
It's been 10 years now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What branch of the service were you in?
I was in two branches. I served in the U.S. Army and the U.S. Air Force.
Okay. And how long was your total commitment?
13 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Were you, so which branch were you in first?
The Army.
Were you drafted or were you enlisted?
I enlisted
Okay. And where were you living at the time?
in Staten Island, New York.
Why did you join the Army?
Well, during high school, my freshman year of high school, I failed English. And so I had to go to summer school. And I found that to be a gem because by going to summer school, I was able to take not only the English, but other classes, which enabled me to graduate early. And my love for music was one of my reasons for staying in school, sports and music. And in my senior year, a recruiter came to me and he said, you may want to consider the Army or the military. Mm-hmm. And I asked him why. And he said, well, one reason is there is no war right now. And they were drafting before, and they weren't drafting anymore. And he said, within 3 years, I could be in, get it out the way in case there was a war. I'd have a real slight chance of being drafted. So I listened to him. And then on December 28, 1976, I signed up while I was a senior in high school because of the GI Bill. It was about to expire on the 31st. So I signed up so that I would get the GI Bill, which entitled me to a lot of military benefits.
All right, so where did you go to boot camp?
Fort Gordon, Georgia.
And how long was boot camp?
Approximately 6 to 8 weeks.
Tell us about it.
Wow. It was fun, contrary to a lot of people's belief, because I was an athlete. So the running and the push-ups weren't really hard. It was a challenge. But I did enjoy learning about weapons and first aid and the other things that came about being a soldier. I also learned about discipline and character. My unit was called, our slogan was "Can Do," which means we can do anything we put our minds to. And that has inspired me throughout my whole life.
Okay, so when you were done with basic training, did you take a break before you went to tech school?
No, I went straight to tech school.
And that was AIT?
AIT.
Right, and what was your field?
I was in communications,
Okay.
radio operator,
Mm-hmm.
comm center specialist.
How long was that training?
17 weeks.
Up to this point, you know, through tech school, what were your instructors like?
My drill sergeant, I really credit him to my whole career because he was the one that inspired me to pursue more than one job while in the military. The advantages were I could go to different bases, I could have different job skills when I got out. That inspired me, the camaraderie. You know, I got to be around men and women from all walks of life. And growing up in the projects in New York, you know, you don't get to do some of the things that we did in basic and AIT.
By the way, when you went into service, had you finished any college?
No,
Okay. Had you done any college at all?
no, I was in a college prep program,
Mhm.
but I decided not to go to college because I was afraid I wouldn't succeed and it would be a financial burden on my family.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, and how long were you in the Army altogether?
3 years.
3 years, okay. So the other 10 was in the Air Force?
Correct.
And we'll get to that. Thank you very much. Okay, so where was your first duty base?
Fort Richardson, Alaska.
And what I did forget to ask you was, what year did you go into the military?
I actually physically went in on July 12th, 1977.
Okay, was there any conflicts going on in the world at that time?
No, not at that
Peacetime?
time. It was peacetime.
Okay. All right, so the first duty base was in Alaska,
Yes,
and how long was that tour?
3 years.
Okay.
Well, 2.5 years.
And what was your job there?
Headquarters comm center operator.
Okay, all right, so, and how, you were stationed there for
I was stationed there for 3 years.
the entire time? Tell us about the tour. What were the people like? How was the food?
Uh,
What was the duty like?
the biggest thing I tell people was when I arrived in a summer uniform in November in Anchorage, Alaska. Snow was already on the ground, it was freezing. And I had on the plastic shoes, I call them. So I was slipping all over with my duffel bag on, trying to get into the dorm.
Why'd you call them plastic shoes?
Because they weren't combat boots, they were
Oh.
dress uniform.
Oh, okay, all right.
So,
So you were not in fatigues?
no,
You were in your
dress uniform.
dress uniform? Okay, gotcha.
And the van pulled up in front of the unit and said, "Get out." And I got out, grabbed my duffel bag, and slid into the unit. Once I got there, after being assigned the dorm room, I was immediately sent to survival training. It's a requirement. And I spent 2 weeks of survival training. There I learned to ski, walk on snowshoes, climb mountains, rappel from mountains, do a lot of things that a guy from the projects would never get a chance to do.
Did you do that in the snow or?
Yes.
What was the weather like?
Um,
What was the variation of the weather?
It was beautiful. The summertime is the best time to go because you have probably 20 hours of sunlight and the temperature ranges around 70 degrees, which we would wish they did exercises then. But the military tends to do them in December, January, February, March. And we would convoy out to northern Alaska and spend about 45 days in tents surviving to defend Russia, defend the United States against Russia.
Oh, really?
That was our mission.
Uh-huh.
And my biggest highlight was spending one of those exercises 54 degrees below zero. We were in tents for 45 days.
Wow. 54 degrees what?
Below zero.
Was it a little cold?
A little bit.
Chilly? Okay. Speaking of the weather, and you said the time of year that they would choose for you to do those maneuvers. Why? Did they do that on purpose? Because that was the worst
Yes.
time of the year to be there?
Yes, they
So-
figured that's when we would be attacked.
And they wanted you to be prepared in the worst weather for the worst scenario, worst case scenario. Incredible. Okay, how was the food?
The food was great on base and in the local community. When of course, when you're out in 54 degrees, they try to tell you you're going to have a steak, but by the time you take it off the oven, it's frozen. So, but they tried their best, and we learned to survive.
Okay.
A lot of the food that we ate were the canned MREs.
Yeah.
Like we love the what's it called, the fruit cocktail.
Oh, okay.
Fruit cocktail was like if you had fruit cocktail.
Good job, huh? Yeah, okay. So, I mean, you're saying the food was, wasn't there a mess hall with heat?
Yes.
Okay, so
In the morning.
tell me you weren't eating ice cubes.
No, what was cool was we would leave our dorms in the morning, and we could actually walk to the mess hall, but we wouldn't put on a parka and get fully, dressed for it. We'd have on a sweater and, some long underwear or whatever. By the time you got to the mess hall, your face was frozen, your eyes had snow all over them.
Right,
You go inside, you eat a warm meal, then you gotta get back over to the dorm.
right. Okay, so what about the job? And I want to ask you also about the people on the economy. So how was that job?
I actually enjoyed it. My position, I drove a Gamma Goat, which is a 6-wheel drive truck, and it has a comm center connected to the back of it. So it's a one-person operation. I could have a co-driver, but usually it's one-person operation. I would hop out, get in the back, open it up, and I have all my comm equipment around me. And my job was, I worked for headquarters. So when the commanders issued movements, I would relay those to the guys out in the field and tell the commanders of the other units where they needed to go. It was a good assignment. I learned a lot about communication. I think one of the best things was, since I was in comm, I was able to call home. So at nights, I would get in the unit and call my mom and let her know I was okay.
Okay.
As far as the local community, I had a love for music, as I mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
So once I got settled, I went home and I got my turntables. And I came back and I started DJing in the dorms. And that actually transcribed into me doing gigs for the military and also downtown in the clubs. And I got to meet a lot of the locals and learn the traditions of the local people and do parties for a variety of different people, which opened my mind up musically to satisfying a community.
Okay. So you had a good rapport with the people who lived there because of your musical background.
Correct.
Cool. All right. So was that a part-time job that you got paid for?
Yes.
Oh, really?
I actually learned the DJ business from a gentleman who was a retired Air Force. He had gotten out and started a DJ business, and he hired me. My roommate, one of my roommates was getting out, and he suggested that I meet with the DJ. And I met with him, and he brought me on board, and he taught me the business of DJing, how to make a profit out of it. And he would send me to different venues to DJ and collect the equipment, set up the equipment. And that's how I got involved in the music side of it.
Okay. Wow. All right. So, did you do any TDYs? And did you go on vacation? Did you leave the base?
Yes. Whenever I left, I went home. I went back to New York to see family.
Okay.
Whenever I got a chance to go back, I would go back and do that. Other than that, when we left the base, as a group of buddies, we would get in a vehicle. We called it the Blue Goose. It was a station wagon that one of the guys had left for us to use, and we would go fishing. And I got a lot of experiences trying to fish for salmon when they're spawning. And if you know, they don't bite when they're spawning.
Right.
So we're looking at a river, all these fish going by, and I'm trying to figure out why we can't catch them.
Right.
But I learned a lot about fishing, wildlife. While skiing, we came across wolves, a whole lot of different things that had to do with wildlife that I would never have gotten an opportunity to do.
Did you ever run into a polar bear?
No, we ran into a brown bear. One time we had the opportunity to either do a 10-mile march or go fishing. So I chose fishing, but I didn't know I'd have to hike 5 miles up into a river or lake area. And as we were walking up, we did see a brown bear.
When you say brown bear, do you mean a grizzly?
Yes.
How big was he?
I would say I'd say 8 to 10 feet. He was big. He was big enough for me to grab the shotgun from the other guy.
Okay.
And tell him, hey, you know what? If he's coming after us, you gotta go so we can get away.
But there was no conflict?
No conflict.
Okay. Was there any conflict with the Russians? Did
No.
you ever see them physically,
No,
visually?
never physically saw
No.
him.
Okay. But you know they were there somewhere?
Yes, we had interactions with the Marines and the Navy because when we did joint service operations,
Right.
it was war. It was war. We would tie each other to trees, take the boots off, just go through the things that you would experience in a real war.
Okay. Oh, okay. And so the other question that I haven't asked you is, through all of your training and those exercises also, were there any casualties? Anybody get hurt?
Yes, while jumping out of planes, we had to jump a couple of times, and I actually got out of airborne because we landed in a zone that wasn't a drop zone. So they dropped us in the wrong place. And on the way down, you could hear people screaming in pain, and guys broke legs and ankles and things like that because we weren't dropped in a clear drop zone.
Wow. So, but nothing, any fatalities?
No, not that I can recall.
Okay.
Not in my units.
Okay, so at the end of the 3-year period, had you put in for, that was the end of your,
After 2.5 years, I was sent back to Fort Gordon to be an instructor,
teaching?
comm center.
Okay.
And at that time, I decided, because of my interaction with the Air Force in Alaska,
Uh-huh.
and what would happen is we'd go on these 45-day missions, and I would come back dirty and stinking, and I do a gig at the Air Force Base, and everybody looks pretty and clean.
Okay.
So I decided to try the Air Force.
Okay. All right. So I'm just curious about the transition. So how did that work for you? You went back to New York,
I went
and when you were discharged, or?
I went back to New York. I was discharged, but I had already applied for the Air Force.
Okay.
And there was a mix-up. They could not match my AFSC, my MOS, I'm sorry, with an Air Force AFSC.
Okay.
So they said to me, if you want to leave, we'll have to retrain you. So I decided I would take that retraining, and they sent me to Keesler Air Force Base
In
in Biloxi, Mississippi.
right.
And I studied administration there.
Oh, okay.
And
702.
702.
Mm-hmm.
And after I finished admin, I got a base of preference for McGuire Air Force Base because it was close to home. And while there, I put in a couple of suggestion awards and got credited for those, and especially the post office one. And I put in for an assignment, and the guy lost my paperwork. So when I went to follow up, they asked me where I wanted to go, and I said, well, what's open? And as headquarters started reading off countries, they said Italy. And it sparked me because my brother, who's a year younger than me, he left home at 16 as well, but he went off Broadway to Italy to perform.
Okay.
And he's there to this day. So when they said Italy, I said, I want to go see my brother. So I was stationed at the American Embassy in Rome, Italy.
Wow. Is that where he was, in Rome?
He was in Rome.
Incredible. Wow. So how long was your tour in Rome?
3 years.
Okay. And tell us about it.
Beautiful place. No, I had diplomatic immunity. I did not wear a uniform because Rome, Italy is a communist country. Whether people don't know that, but it's really a communist country.
Okay.
So I had to be careful when I drove, where I went. But beside that, the people were beautiful. The food was great. I got to see the Colosseum, and I basically lived on the Spanish Steps every day.
Oh, really?
Just there.
Did you travel to any other cities here in Italy?
Yes, I went to Aviano Air Force Base. I went to Milan. I went to Naples. I went all over Italy. Just got in the car and drove. And again, I was DJing. I was discovered at a nightclub.
Okay. So you were constantly making money on the side.
That's right.
Had that part-time job, good, and it was lucrative.
Mm-hmm.
Any other countries in Europe while you were there?
Germany. I went to Germany and visited some other military buddies that were in Germany.
What cities?
Frankfurt.
Uh-huh. Frankfurt, Maine?
Yep, my mind.
Okay, I got you. France, Spain?
Spain, I visited Spain, but not during my military career.
Okay, and yeah, that's fine. And what about the Netherlands?
No.
England?
Yes.
Okay.
I visited
London?
England.
Got to London?
Got to London.
Nice. So, on vacation, on R&R, where else did you go?
Spain mainly.
Where?
Milan, Madrid. I've been to Madrid and Barcelona. But those were the two places that I kind of liked. I spent a lot of time in Venice.
In Venice?
Yeah, in Venice and Milan.
Okay.
Because my brother was constantly doing shows in Milan. And Milan is similar to New York with the fashion and things like that.
Okay. Next duty base?
After that, I was sent back to Keesler Air Force Base to be an instructor. What happened, I was reading the Air Force Times one day, and it said instructors were needed. If you have communications background or computer science background, you qualify. So I submitted my Army paperwork with my communications, and I was accepted to teach. And within 8 weeks, I was sent to Keesler Air Force Base, where I spent 7 weeks or 8 weeks learning how to teach.
Oh.
And then after that, I was assigned my classroom, and I started teaching mainframe computers.
At Keesler?
At Keesler.
Okay.
I taught mainframe.
How long was the tour?
At Keesler?
Mm-hmm.
I spent 6-7 years at
Wow. That was to the end?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay.
I taught mainframe computers, actually the same ones that are used at Disney.
Wow.
And I found that out by visiting Disney and going back behind the scenes, and it opened up, and I said, wait, I know how to run these computers. And I realized that's how Disney was hiring veterans, because that was the skill set and we had the equipment.
Wow.
But then the small computer was created, And
PC.
The PC.
Right.
And I was put on a small computer training team. And we traveled around the world teaching the small computer.
Where was around the world? Where'd you go?
Oh, I went to Hawaii, I went to back to Frankfurt, a lot of stateside, MacDill,
States.
a lot of state,
What states?
Florida, Texas, wherever there was an Air Force base that needed training, because remember, this is when they were brand new. They had just come out. In fact, when I got it, I was like, what am I gonna do with this?
PC, huh?
The PC. And eventually, that is what led me into the career that I'm in now. That's part of it, a combination of the computers and the music.
And we'll get to that in a minute. Just want to wrap this up. So please mention any places that you visited either on R&R or TDY that you have not already mentioned while you were in the military.
Okay.
If you can help us out.
Fort Greely,
Where's that?
Alaska.
Uh-huh.
There's so many running through my mind.
Right. Okay, so speculatively, how many states in the union, so to speak, how many states have you, just a number,
Right.
you think that you visited while you were in the service?
I would say 20, at least 20.
Wow.
20
All
of
right.
the states.
And so, all right, so where were you? You were at Keesler when you finally separated?
Yes.
Okay. What were your plans and what did you do when you got out of the service?
Well, I was DJing on the side and I got discovered by a radio station manager. And he asked me to come to the radio station. I went up there and I started doing a mix show. And then I got to do an afternoon show. And he taught me the ins and outs of radio. And they had a computer system, but it was antiquated. It was reel-to-reels that ran it. And I thought that was kind of odd. But it wasn't turntables, it was reel-to-reels, but it was a computer system.
Right.
And he had these index cards, and that's how they selected the music that was going to be played. They were color-coded. And so I took the index cards home, and I put them in a software system that he asked me to put them in. And I learned to use that software system. And when it came time for me to make a decision to get out of the military, I was doing financially pretty good. The re-enlistment bonus for my career was nothing. So I said, I'll take my chances on the entertainment business. And I got out and started working for Foxy Radio, 96.7 in Gulfport, Mississippi.
Wow. And how long did you do that?
I stayed there for a year and a half until it was sold. And then I worked for another local station, WJZD, which is still in existence. I helped them actually put it up and launch it in Gulfport. And then I stayed there for another year and a half and got married and relocated, ended up in Las Vegas. Worked for a radio station in Las Vegas, KCEP FM, nonprofit. And I started an intern program there to teach youth radio. And from there I was recruited by a software company in New York to work for them. They develop software for radio and television. And so I agreed, I relocated to New York, working for RCS. And I spent from 1996, I left there in 2018. But I had a break. In 1999, a company called me called CD Radio. And they asked me if I would come and help them start this new platform of radio, which is called satellite radio. And February of 2000, they changed their name to Sirius. And I was the first African American to program the R&B and dance divisions for Sirius Radio.
Wow, incredible. Back to the military. Did you ever experience were you ever injured in the service?
Only through sports, not through conflict.
Okay, but while you were in the military, you were injured?
Yes.
How?
Playing basketball, my basketball and football, my hands were pinned up against the backboard when I did a dunk, and the guy fouled me and tore up my tendons in my finger. And then in football, I dove to break up a play, and grass cut my finger all the way open. But then the biggest injury I got was running, my annual run. My lung collapsed.
Wow.
My left lung collapsed.
Did you have a disability?
Yes, I'm 100% disabled veteran now.
Okay, so the military is taking care of you. The other thing I want to know is about your education. Did you use your GI Bill for your education as well as possibly a home?
I went to Anchorage Community College,
Uh-huh.
and then I used the CLEP test to my advantage. I found out about the CLEP tests, which are standardized tests you can take, and if you pass them, you get credit.
Right.
So I did that, and right now I have about 125 college hours between attending school. I got a degree in broadcasting,
A bachelor's?
associates.
Okay.
I'm working on my bachelor's and my master's now.
Oh, really? Simultaneously?
Yes.
Okay, good luck. Okay. That's a challenge. Okay, you were never a prisoner of war.
No.
What about medals and citations?
Yes, numerous citations, achievements, and commendations, suggestion awards for saving the government money, and no combat type awards.
Okay. Did you ever have a problem your entire time in the military staying in touch with your family?
No, I did not.
Okay. That's good. Okay, we're wrapping up. Okay. All right. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Yes.
In what way?
It made me really understand how important it is for us as citizens to support our military, because we defend our country. So we don't have people who are willing to go out there and fight for our survival. You know, there won't be a democracy. And the camaraderie that I have learned, I still have friends that are veterans from this experience. So I highly endorse the military because of not only the training that it gave me, but the awareness of community.
Speaking of which, have you maintained any of those friendships?
Yes.
Okay, for all these years.
Yep.
What year did you come out?
I came out in 91.
91, and this is 22.
I just lost one of my best friends last
30
year.
years. Sorry about that. Sorry for your loss. How did your service and experiences affect your life?
When I look back, I think it was the best decision that I made for me at that time, because as I said, going to college, I really don't think I was mentally and financially prepared for it. So by going in the military, it took away a lot of that. It also let me see the world, which I probably would have never gotten to go to half of the places that I went to. So that affected my life. It also, interacting with people from different cultures.
Okay.
You know, going to Germany, going to Spain, you know, going to the different, even Alaska, the natives in Alaska. People don't understand them, and until you get there and you get to sit down and talk to them and find out about their culture, and they teach you. And I think that has a lot to do with my personality now.
Okay. I'm going to see if either the students or anybody else in the room actually has any questions they want to ask you. But I have just one more question. I'm curious. Did you have, throughout your career, any, I don't know, severe, you know, high or low racial experiences, discrimination?
Yes, I did.
And how did you handle those?
They occurred, ironically, at Keesler Air Force Base, Biloxi, Mississippi. I remember walking with a partner one day, and there was a sign on the grass that said, "Airmen and dogs keep off the grass." I was taken aback because I just come from Italy, and you know I would expect racism there, but I didn't experience
Airmen
it.
and dogs? Did it?
Yeah. Airmen and dogs.
So what was the reference there? I don't hear whether.
Well, it was, I guess they were anti-military.
Oh,
But then, living in Biloxi, Mississippi, I got to see and experience the racism that is in Mississippi
okay,
firsthand.
okay. Calviana, Keegan, you guys got any questions? You want to ask? No. Anything about what the military's like, or you good? Yeah. Okay. Final closing shot. What is? Do you have any advice for young people as far as the military or life in general going forward in their young lives?
I would say to you two that are here, first I applaud you for taking on this challenge, because that's how I got into the entertainment business. Programs like this. Keep your minds open, stay focused. You can achieve anything. Right now, greatest opportunity for you guys. So you guys can achieve anything you want. As far as the military, don't be afraid to take that chance. because it could get you out of a situation that you're in and give you an opportunity to achieve the things you want to achieve and see the world without paying for it. So now is the best time to think about it. I'm not saying you got to do it, but think about it. It's definitely a good alternative, especially with what's going on in today's society. I mean, it took me from the hood of Wu-Tang. I grew up with Wu-Tang. If you know who those guys are, I grew up with them in the projects. And now I have a record label, I have distribution, I have a great career based on the things that I was able to do while I was in the military. So even if you decide to go in, get the most out of it as you can. If you have an interest in film, follow it by all means, because every job that's out here is in the military. So you can be a photographer, a videographer in the military and achieve some great things too. So I'm honored to be here with you guys watching you do this. And I give you my blessings in your career and your life.
I want to thank you for your service, and I want to thank you for a great interview. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Uh-oh. Wait. Yeah. It's again.